And you start to think for a moment that there are brothers and sisters who struggle to find that connection. To find the connection of why we do certain things in our religion and the overall benefit and outcome of that commitment, of that sacrifice. And so today I want to give you a glimpse of how Qur'an talks about the subject of people, some of the reasons why they either question their faith or they lose it altogether. May Allah protect us from that. Allahumma ameen. I bring your attention to Surat-al-Hadid. And the verses that I've selected for you today are verses 12 to 14 in Surat-al-Hadid. Now, the first verse that I want to share with you is going to talk about an incident that will happen on the Day of Judgment. Allah Azza wa Jal says that the believing men and the believing women, يَوْمَ تَرَى الْمُؤْمِنِينَ وَالْمُؤْمِنَاتِ يَسْعَى نُورُهُمْ بَيْنَ أَيْدِيهِمْ وَبِأَيْمَانِهِمْ. So on the Day of Judgment, بِإِذْنِ اللَّهِ تَعَالَى, all of us as believing men and women, we will come on that day and there will be light. There will be light in our hands and on our right. This is Qur'an's way of saying that based on the sincerity of your deeds, based on the hard work that you've put through in this world to do all of those good things, will determine how bright this nur will become on the Day of Judgment. So our good deeds in this world will be turned into light on the Day of Judgment. Some people, they will have just a small glimpse of this light. Others, the Messenger ﷺ told us that they would have light that would literally span from one city to another. So some people will definitely experience this light more than others. And so Allah continues and He tells us, بُشْرَاكُمُ الْيَوْمِ جَنَّاتٌ تَجْرِي مِنْ تَحْتِهَا الْأَنْهَارُ خَالِدِينَ فِيهَا ذَلِكَ هُوَ الْفَوْزُ الْعَظِيمُ. Allah Azza wa Jal will say to all of us, insha'Allah, congratulations, you get Jannah, in which there are gardens and rivers will flow beneath those gardens. And this is a great honor and a great blessing that Allah has given to you, based on your efforts here, now, and today. May Allah Azza wa Jal accept our good deeds. Allahumma ameen. Then the conversation continues. Now this is where it gets very interesting. Allah Azza wa Jalla in the next verse tells us, يَوْمَ يَقُولُ الْمُنَافِقُونَ وَالْمُنَافِقَاتِ لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. So there's going to be a conversation between a group who are, of course, the hypocrites. May Allah protect us from them. The hypocrites are going to see the believers. So immediately this ayah is giving you an illustration that there's going to be this massive distance between believers and everyone else, and disbelievers and munafiqun and so on. And the munafiqun, the hypocrites, will say, لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا انظُرُونَا نَقْتَبِسْ مِن نُورِكُمْ. So they're going to ask for something. They're going to ask for what the Qur'an calls iqtibas. Iqtibas literally means to borrow. So they're going to ask the believers, can we borrow a little bit of your light? What this tells you is that there is going to be a point on the Day of Judgment where it would be pitch dark. No one will be able probably to even see the next footstep that they would want to take. And the only brink of light, the only hope that we'd be able to see where we're going and what we're doing is going to be based on the righteousness that we perform in this world with sincerity. May Allah Azza wa Jal bless us with that. Allahumma ameen. And so they see this. And they ask, can we borrow some of your light because we don't know where we're going? So this image, the believers are at a distance, the munafiqun are at another distance. And then they say, قِيلَ رُجِعُوا وَرَاءَكُمْ فَالْتَمِسُوا نُورًا. The believers will say to the hypocrites, go back. Go back and find your own light somewhere else. Maybe behind you somewhere. Go and see where you find your own light. So now there is a split of two categories. The verse continues. Then Allah Azza wa Jal tells us, فَضُرِبَ بَيْنَهُمْ بِسُوَرِ اللَّهِ بَابٌ بَاطِنُهُ فِيهِ الرَّحْمَةِ وَظَاهِرُهُ مِنْ قِبَلِهِ الْعَذَابِ. Then Allah will allow that this massive wall will come between the believers and the hypocrites. And this wall, there is a door. That door deserves its own khutbah. So there's this door and there's this massive wall that's separating the two. And then Allah describes on the inner part of this wall, meaning on the other side where the munafiqun can't see. So they're standing on one side, they can't see what's happening on the other side. Allah says on the other side of that wall there is a rahmah, there is mercy. But on the side that you, the munafiqun, are looking at, this is nothing but adhab and punishment. It's not finished yet. So this is the imagery that this verse is created for us. Okay, so what happens next? The verse continues. يُنَادُونَهُمْ أَلَمْ نَكُمْ مَعَكُمْ. Now this is where the verse becomes much more interesting. The munafiqun, they start asking the believers on the other side, hey, weren't we with you? We used to be together in this world. Why are we split apart today on the Day of Judgment? I was your colleague. I was your classmate. We were actually buddies. We were friends. We were together. We lived life together. We went out and we enjoyed things together. Don't you remember me? This is what they're asking now. So what the munafiqun are trying to do at this point is they're trying to tag along with the believers. Why? Because they've realized when it was too late that all the things that they were up to in this world of wasting their time, choosing bad company, saying things and talking about things they shouldn't be engaged with, they realized at that moment that they messed up and there is absolutely no way around this. So they're trying to tag along with the believers. So they ask the first question, weren't we with you? And then it continues. The believers, they respond and they say, قَالُوا بَلَى. They said, yes, you're right. So now the believers are speaking back to the other side of the wall. They're saying, yeah, we were together. Yeah, you're right. We did work in the same place. We did go to the same schools. We were living in the same street. We passed by each other quite often. Yes, you're right. However, وَلَكِنَّكُمْ. Now here is the point of today's khutbah. They respond and they give a couple of reasons why the split happened on the Day of Judgment. وَلَكِنَّكُمْ فَتَنْتُمْ أَنفُسَكُمْ. Number one, they said to the munafiqun, when you guys were in this world, you put yourself to trial after trial after trial. What is this talking about? The word that's used is fitna. Fitna literally means hardship or trial. And so they said to them, you guys put yourself in tough situations. What is this talking about? The munafiqun had this habit that they would put themselves in situations where their Eeman was constantly put to test. This is not talking about those who fall into those situations unintentionally, without realizing it. No, this is a separate category. This group, they purposely went to places they shouldn't have been going. They purposely associated themselves with people they should not have associated with. And so they took themselves for granted. They thought that, okay, just because I'm with them, but I'm not actually doing anything, I'm okay. You see the problem with that? And people always ask, how come so much people are questioning their faith and losing their Eeman? This is one of the reasons the Qur'an teaches us why this happens. Just imagine yourself, you have a friend or company that has a lot of bad habits. Like they lose their temper a lot, or they smoke a lot, or they do a lot of things that Islamically they shouldn't be doing. It's only a matter of time before that person starts to think and wonder, I wonder what it feels like, just like one puff of a cigarette. What would that feel like? You start talking. This is how shaitan captures us. And our Messenger ﷺ warned us about this. And he told us, Al-mar'u ala dini khalili. A person is on the path of who? Of their friends. Of the people you associate with. This is the Messenger ﷺ's way of telling us, watch out and pay keen attention to the people you hang with, the people you chill out with, the people you call companionship and friends. Be very careful and choose wisely, because on the Day of Judgment, that split will happen. So the first reason that is given is you guys put yourself in tough situations, and as a result, you took it for granted. Because eventually, you started developing the same behavior and the same habits. Even though we were friends, but you took up smoking and drinking and you started saying all these awful things, that's where we split, even though we used to hang. Here's the second reason that Qur'an tells us. Then the second reason Allah Azza wa Jal mentions, وَتَرَبَّصْتُمْ. Tarabbastum is they started to procrastinate. So I want you to imagine yourself for a moment of someone, when you're trying to tell them, hey listen, you got to change these habits. You got to stop doing that. You got to start praying. Come to Taraweeh. You haven't had one Taraweeh the entire Ramadan. Just come for one night and experience it. See what that's like. And procrastinating in this verse is referring to the person who says, don't worry, I'll get there. Yeah, I know I have to pray. I know I have to get there. Don't worry, we still got another 20 days or so left, inshallah. Trust me, I'll do it. You see, the one who procrastinates easily convinces themselves that they can always say no, or they can always do what they intend to do. They've convinced themselves of that. Qur'an is teaching us, don't do that. Because it's easy for somebody to take that attitude for granted. And eventually what happens? So it started off where this group put themselves in situations, they intentionally put themselves in situations where they should not have been in, and that led to the second problem, which they started to procrastinate and say, it's okay, it's just for a little while, I'll get over it, trust me, I'm not going to do the things that they do. So they start talking this way. What ended up happening? This is how the Qur'an explains these stages of when people start to question or even lose their faith. May Allah protect us. The third reason, or the third point, the believers are telling the munafiqun why this separation happened on the Day of Judgment. Allah Azza wa Jal tells us, وَارْتَبْتُمْ. وَارْتَبْتُمْ, then you started doubting this deen, subhanallah. Then you started doubting, do we really have to go for Taraweeh? It's just what, a sunnah? It's okay, it's my choice. I'm good. You start doubting the importance of that act. Then the person starts questioning fasting in the month of Ramadan, especially in the summertime. Listen, Allah knows what's in my heart. It's okay. I don't really need to do that. They start questioning rituals, discipline. They start questioning commitment. Do you see the separation now? This is what happened. It kept leading from one to another, and it got worse and worse each and every time. The munafiqun on the Day of Judgment are listening to this. And in another surah, Allah describes they are in this deep sense of remorse and regret. They can't believe this has actually happened to them. May Allah Azza wa Jal protect us. May Allah Azza wa Jal protect our sons and daughters. Allahumma ameen. This is how easily this most important, precious thing that we have, we call Eeman and faith, this is how easily we can lose it. May Allah Azza wa Jal give us strength. Allahumma ameen. And then the verse continues. It's still not over. And then they continue and they say, وَغَرَّتْكُمُ الْأَمَانِي. They said then, in addition, so you've started doubting, and then as a result you started developing a sense of false hope. You started thinking to yourself that, wait a minute, is there really an Allah or a God? Is there really somebody up there? Look at this world and how messed up it is and all the problems happen. They start having conversations like this. If Allah is really merciful, then why doesn't He stop all this turmoil and all of these problems? You start questioning Allah's wisdom. This person, they start questioning now, why does Allah do these things? Why do I have to pray every single day? I meet Muslims like this, who actually question, why 5 times a day? It's ridiculous. I don't have to pray that much. May Allah Azza wa Jal protect us, ayyuha al-ahbab. Our Messenger sallallahu alayhi wa sallam warned us this time will come. And he told us that there will come a time where people will start to lose khushu' in their prayer. They'll start to lose focus and concentration. There will come a time where somebody will pray and have no idea why they're doing it. This is like born Muslims. And then when they're praying, they'll think about everything else except the salah. May Allah Azza wa Jal protect us. May Allah increase and preserve our faith. Allahumma ameen. Our Messenger alayhi salatu wasalam warned us about this. Then the verse concludes and it tells us, حَتَّى جَاءَ أَمْرُ اللَّهِ وَغَرَّكُمْ بِاللَّهِ الْغَرُورِ. So these people, they developed a sense of false hope. There's not going to be no day of judgment. What are you talking about? We don't need a religion. We don't need to believe in anything. We can just kind of live and do what we want. We hear this from a lot of young people, don't we? Just leave me alone. I just want to do what I want to do. This is what the verse is talking about. That attitude, watch out for it. And this is why it's so crucial and so important for you and I as parents, that conversation with young people, it can never stop. There must never be a moment in your life with children or even your own kids where you're not engaged in some kind of conversation. Just hearing them and talking to them about anything and everything. Because this verse is telling you that by companionship, by association alone is something to be concerned about. Because that could lead to doubt. That could lead to procrastinate. That could be a reason why people will end up losing their faith. And that will lead to the disaster that happens on the Day of Judgment, where these two groups begin to split.